Welcome to the Best Business Podcast, the podcast for established marketers, entrepreneurs, and CEOs, the ones who want to join me in my mission to create 200 new multimillionaires who solve world problems with entrepreneurship. If that's you, then this podcast was created to give you access to the tools, training, strategies, and tactics you need to achieve multiple seven-figure profits as soon as possible. This world needs the best business you can build, so please get ready, open your mind, believe you can do this, and let's build a better world together for future generations. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we are joined by a returning guest and a good man, Dov Gordon. Dov is someone I sincerely respect and appreciate. Some refer to him as a brilliant strategist. They say he's easily able to synthesize and simplify ideas using any number of frameworks he's developed from years of research and client work. As a result, the most complex concepts become simple, the hidden insights are illuminated, and the steps to overcome hugely challenging problems are made clear. Regardless of if you know him or not, you'll agree he really is the Alchemist Entrepreneur, turning the common into the priceless. I've asked him to come back on our show to share some more of his gold with us so we can all run our businesses a little better. And if after hearing this talk you'd like to hear some more of Dov, you can always check out our first interview titled 13 Years of Getting Ideal Clients with Dov Gordon. So Dov, thank you for joining us, my friend. I really appreciate our time together. How are you doing?
Great, thank you. That was quite an opening. I should hire you to write for me.
Well, it's all true things people have said about you, and you know, this is a game, especially in coaching people and stuff. There can be a low barrier of entry. And so after the years go by, you know, like you kind of get to see like who's left and who were like flashes in the pans, and you know, and you've really, I mean, not only was our last interview titled 13 years of doing it, but just even in our time together, I just think you operate with a lot of integrity and commitment and consistency and desire to just be good at your craft. So that's something that I appreciate. It's why I've asked you to come back, because I wouldn't just ask anybody. So, yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Darryl.
Yeah. So for the people here that have just joined us and maybe didn't hear the first interview with you, like, can you maybe tell them a bit about your story? Like, how did you get started? Do you come from an entrepreneurial family?
No, I don't think so. Quick thinking, no, not really. I was trying to, running some family members through my head. No, not really. I mean, there are some uncles or great uncles, but not immediate, straight up. So I just, grew up, and from age 13, when I discovered the self-help and business sections in the library, I've been interested in business and was reading all aspects of business and personal development. I think probably the first book that I discovered was $1 Million Habits by Robert J. Ringer. Mm-hmm. You heard of it?
Yep. I read his one, Winning Through Intimidation, which is a terrible title, but great book.
Yeah. Well, I think he renamed it at some point, but that was, I believe, New York Times bestseller, #1 bestseller, I think. But this is going back a few decades. So, and then from there, I would, just would read as many topics as I could find on management, public relations, marketing, sales, consulting, anything that I could find. And around 21 or so, I just, got married at 21. I decided what I'm going to do when I grow up. And somewhere along the line, I read about business coaching, which was somewhat new at the time, at least somewhat new. And I enrolled in a course, 2-year-long course, which gave me some tools to get started. Never bothered finishing it because I found it had some value, but not everything I needed. I wasn't doing it for the certification. I think that people who are concerned about getting coaching certification are generally making a mistake in terms of their priorities, what they're concerned about. You got to focus on. We can come back to that if you want. And went out to try to figure out how am I going to get some clients, because I was at a place where I had no real experience, but I had knowledge, and I had kind of knowledge. I've been studying a lot for years, and I also knew that I had a talent or an ability, but I had no idea how to direct it, and I didn't really know how to get clients. And like most people in a similar situation, I discovered that it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. So.
Okay, and so what was kind of, so getting clients was kind of your first career, first big challenge of your career, and how did you overcome that?
So Yeah, well, it was an evolution, and I'd say like the first 7 or 8 years of my business was a real struggle uphill until I eventually came to understand what I was doing, and the last 7 or 8 years have been much more kind of refining, continuously improving. So back then, I took the course in coaching, which gave me a framework to begin working with insofar as helping with people. I joined the Dale Carnegie course because I figured that's a way of meeting other business people. And over 12 weeks, weekly 4-hour sessions, you get to know people, and that gave me my first clients. There were about 41 or 42 people in the course, and I came away with, I think it was 12 or 13 or 14% of the class became my first coaching clients. So that worked out well for me. That was a good start. Then I joined the networking group. And that helped me proceed a bit. That was, a B&I group. It wasn't, I think a lot of people go through that phase. It helped me learn more, helped me get some more clients. And until at some point I looked around and I realized that, there were, I think, 3 groups of people. There were the people who were doing really well with B&I. There were people who were struggling, and they always had the excuses. They always had the excuse, and let me just take a step back. There are people who are doing really well, and at some point they'd move on and up. They just move on to other things. There are people who are not doing well, and they would just come back, and they always had a reason why they weren't doing well. I mean, there's always an excuse. And then I kind of thought I was somewhere in the middle where I was doing okay, but things weren't really moving forward fast enough. And I decided at some point it's time to move on. And I don't remember exactly what I moved on to, but I think at that point I was running a CEO peer advisory group by that time. And what that was, I'd come across the idea, or had the idea, and I found out that there was these CEO peer groups. And I decided to go out and start my own, and I'd never really seen a business that was doing more than $1 million a year, so I didn't even really know what that meant. But I started with smaller businesses, and then at some point I came across a Dun & Bradstreet book that listed companies with between $10 million and up to billions of dollars in our area. And I started reaching out to CEOs of companies between $10 and $150 million a year in business. I figured out a way to get them on the phone, not all of them, of course, but many of them, get meetings with them and get them to come to our peer group, try it, and some of them became members. So that was, a first success, but even then it was not a resounding success by any stretch of the imagination. I was way undercharging. The sales cycle was like 6 to 12 months because we would have 10 meetings a year. And it could take somebody 6 months till the schedule worked out for them. I mean, I remember I'd be on the way to the meetings, and the phone calls would start with the secretaries calling and saying, because I let them come for 1 or 2 times to try it, which was another mistake. I didn't realize that I really just have to sell it without a trial. Just find another way of selling it. There had to be more skin in the game. They had no skin in the game. That was basically what it was about. So I figured out how to get them on the phone. I figured out how to have a conversation and even meet with many of them. And I figured out how to get some of them, but it was just way too much work for way too little money. I mean, I'd spend my entire month focused on getting these people into the room. And my main idea had been that if I can build these relationships, then that would lead to more lucrative consulting projects. But that was a struggle too. So I was just putting in way too much work to reach the point where I figured, okay, this is not working, and I stopped that after a few years. I mean, I gained an awful lot from it. Right. And I started to realize, we're coming towards the point where I started to realize what I was doing wrong, which is, I realized that I'd figured out pieces of the puzzle, but I couldn't see the whole puzzle box. I didn't see how the pieces related to each other. I didn't see how they connected. And over the next few years, I really figured out what the whole puzzle box does look like, how to simplify the essence of it, and design a very simple, repeatable process to be able to get ideal clients consistently. And at that point, I'd looked around and realized that there were when it comes to consulting and coaching or building a business on the back of your hard-won expertise, that was what I was trying to do. And I looked around, and there are so many people who are struggling to do the same thing. And still today, there's always a small group who, like, they'll get started and they'll just charge ahead, and they'll be making several $100,000 a year coaching, consulting within 12 to 18 months. Mm-hmm. And I think that in most cases they're relying on strong personalities or certain natural gifts. But there are tens of millions of more people who, I think I fit in the second category, people who are good at what they do, who really care about their clients, but they don't have whatever that natural bit of marketing or sales flair that helps along the first group. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I guess something that I have was the ability of really learning through painful, hard experience, and then it was painful, and then being able to distill the essence or the message or the lessons that I learned, and then be able to share that with other people. So that's about 7-8 years ago, I shifted the focus of our business to be about working with consultants, coaches, and experts to help them get clients consistently. I know that sounds a little funny, but I did figure it out eventually. It just took me time. And that's what we've been doing. So we've been able to help people who are not the charismatic guru type people, who are not natural marketers and sales people necessarily. We tend to really, a lot of our clients are people who, they did well in the corporate world, and they got tired of the corporate politics and all the other limitations, and they figured, I just want to do my own thing. I want my own schedule. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to work from anywhere. I want to work with the kinds of clients I want to work with. Those really important freedom things, both financially and freedom of time and schedule. And they figured I did really well in the corporate world. I'm good at this. I should be able to build a business on it. And they leave and they hang up a shingle as a consultant. I guess nobody does that really anymore. They get a website. And they start doing what I did. Right? They'll go to a networking meeting or some other kind of event, or they'll whatever they do. There are lots of different tactics people use, and then they hit a wall and they get stuck. And people could spend 6, 12, 24 months, 2-3 years going in circles, and they were successful. Yep. And at some point they come to realize that, the skills, the abilities that enabled me to thrive in the corporate world are not the same that I need to thrive as an independent consultant, as an independent coach or expert. And a lot of our clients are those who come to that realization, and we help them simplify things, and we help them build out a simple, repeatable process to get ideal clients consistently. So that's, I guess that's been my journey. And where do you want to go from here? We can go deeper.
Well, we can definitely go deeper, but first I just want to do a shameless plug, because I think your stuff is great, and you actually have a manual that you've sold. I don't know how many you sold, but you sold a ton of them for $97, and that's something that you give away for free now, correct?
Yeah.
So where do people go to get that? And that outlines the system on how to get these clients, isn't it?
Yeah. So what? Yeah, that is what it is, and I'll just explain what it is, and then I'll give people a link where you can get it for sure. Thanks for mentioning it. I spent 6 weeks, 4 hours a day at a local coffee shop about, back in 2010, 2011, maybe, I forget. And I wrote this out. This was, there's no fluff in it. It's 80-something pages, no fluff. And it really gets to the simplicity and far side of complexity. It boils down to very clear insights and then activities, actions, so that you can know that you focused on the few things that make a big difference, the critical 10% that gives you 90% of what you want. And we sold that for the following 5 years. We sold that for $97. Now we're giving it away for free. And I'll tell you, the reason we're giving it away for free is because I realized that, information is great, and but we're not really an information product business where we have some courses and so on, but that's not mainly what we do. Is we're a boutique coaching business. We work with a small group of people at a time. We're really only handling anywhere from 5 to 10 clients a month. So I realized that we were getting people going through and saying, hey, could you help me do this? Mm-hmm. So I decided it was a win-win-win if we get it into more hands. Mm-hmm. So That's why we stopped selling it. I mean, you have to. I think it's important that people realize this is not one of these reports that are valued at $7.
This ebook that I bought on Fiverr for $5 and put my name on it, and hey, here you go.
No, this is it's really good. So we have it at dovgordon.net/manual free. That's dovgordon.net/manual MANUAL FREE, manual free. And that's because we call it the Plenty of Clients Manual, how to systematically and consistently attract first-rate clients. So I'm sure anybody who takes us up on that will come back and thank us. So,
so
I look forward to hearing from them.
Let's give them a little bit of a taster of what's in there. So, because obviously there's some people, and people are at all different levels, but there's one thing I think that's really important. And honestly, it might not sound sexy and it might not sound glamorous, but one of the things that I've learned training with Olympic, and this goes from athletics to business and even politics, but one of the things that I've learned having been fortunate enough to train with world champions and Olympic champions and rub elbows with some of the people who have done hundreds of millions of dollars is that fundamentals are fundamental for a reason. I mean, when I did martial arts, I trained with a red belt once, and takes you like 30, 40 years to get a red belt. You know, it's more like an acknowledgement that you've been a black belt for more of your life than, you know what I mean, than you've been anything else, and that you've contributed to the art. And I remember being in a class, and this red belt, Pedro Sauer, was learning from a white belt on some really basic grip stuff and just some basic struggles that so I just appreciate it so much because this guy is like a red belt and he's learning from a white belt. So fundamentals are so important. I really want to go into that. So the reason why I'm mentioning that is it doesn't matter what level people are at. I guarantee that there's holes in the systems that you've got. And just by maybe taking a look and re-looking at some of the stuff you're doing with like what Dov has to share. And I've got no dog in this fight, whether you download Dov stuff or not. But just for the remainder of this interview, some of the stuff, even if you feel like you've already done this, if you're not starting out, if you feel like you do have a consistent stream of clients, it would behoove you to take another look at it following someone else's proven model. So now, Dov, can you kind of walk us through a little bit? Like if someone's struggling, if someone's struggling and they're kind of where you said, like they're like, I get clients, but it's feast and famine. I mean, what do you recommend? Where do they start?
All right, very good. So the first thing is you have to realize what you're trying to accomplish. And one of the big mistakes that most people make is that, look around and they say, I need clients, or where do I get clients? And this expert will say you got to do Facebook ads, and that one says you got to do public speaking, and that one says you got to do be on LinkedIn or search engine optimization. I mean, the answer with technology, the answers have multiplied. I mean, everybody's got a different answer. And these are all tactical. They're all superficial. I think of it as it's like two different colors. If you have two balloons, one is red, one is blue, and one you fill with helium, and the other one you blow up with your own hot air. And then you're not going to conclude that red balloons fly and blue balloons fall, right? Because you're going to conclude that, well, helium makes the balloon fly and hot air makes the balloon fall. So it's the same thing, though, with tactics. Everybody's out there arguing, this one's what you got to do. You got to do this, webinars and podcasts, And the truth is that just like different color balloons, they can all work and they can all fail. And it really depends on what you put inside. So that's, I think, a really important insight is that if you're looking to add multi-six figures, let's say $100,000, $500,000, or even more, but that's where we tend to focus, although we have some individual clients who are doing bigger things. But most of what we do is with people looking to add $100,000 a year plus several hundred thousand to their consulting coaching business. That's not going to make front page news. I mean, you could do that and it will not make the news, but it'll sure make a difference to your family. So and the reason I make that point is because it's not the economy that determines that. It's not anything that determines your ability to make another, to double, triple, quadruple your income. It's really what you do. It's how focused will you be and how strategic and thoughtful. So the first thing you need to understand is it's not about the tactics. So what is about it? Well, you have to understand when it works, why does it work? When it fails, why does it fail? One more side point that I think is worth mentioning. Most people, if you ask them, we talk about the need for a marketing funnel, right? That's a big buzzword these days, a marketing funnel. Everybody needs a marketing funnel. What's the purpose of a marketing funnel? Anytime you're going to say you need a system, you need, every system has to have a reason for it, right? There's got to be a reason for the system. So what's the purpose of your marketing funnel, marketing and selling system? So most people when I asked them that question, the answer they gave me is, well, it's to fill my pipeline. It's to make sales. It's to close deals. And that's all true. However, I think that's an oversimplified answer because it doesn't help you know what to do next. I could know that, okay, I'm building this funnel to fill my pipeline, to close deals and so on, but now what? So I want to suggest that, Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. said the following. He said, I wouldn't give a fig for simplicity on this side of complexity, but I give my right hand for simplicity on the far side of complexity. So I think that I'm always looking for simplicity on the far side of complexity. I think it's a brilliant observation. And to say that the purpose of your marketing and selling system is to fill your funnel, to fill your pipeline, that's oversimplified. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, here, I think there's a continuum. There's oversimplified on the left, overcomplicated next, and then simplicity on the far side of complexity. Most people, they start off assuming this is going to be easy, like I did, mm-hmm. and they figure this can't be that hard, right? Because we oversimplify what's involved, and then we get lost in the complexity of it. And most people never get out of the complexity. But if you get the right coaching, the right mentoring, the right guidance, and you push through long enough, you'll end up in simplicity on the far side of complexity. And now let me explain what it is, the way I see this. So I see the purpose of your marketing funnel, the purpose of your marketing and selling system is to answer the number one question on your prospect's mind at just the right time. I'll need to explain this. Because if this was so simple, then everybody would get that immediately. Just like when you say, oh, the purpose of your marketing funnel is to fill your pipeline, and everybody goes, they nod their head, yeah, of course, yeah, right. Well, what the hell does that actually mean? Mm-hmm. And then we can get started arguing. So we don't know what to do, right? But what I'm about to show you helps you always know what is your tightest constraint, what's your bottleneck, what is your point of highest leverage, so that you always know what you need to do next to have a ripple effect across your business, bringing ideal clients consistently. So the purpose of your marketing funnel is to answer the number one question on your prospect's mind at just the right time. Now, your ideal client, between when they've never heard of you to a point where they're paying you well, asks three questions. Anything else they're going to ask will be a subset of one of these questions. The first question they ask is, should I pay attention to you? Is it interesting? So if you came across this podcast, your brain on some level asked, should I pay attention? Should I listen to this? Is it interesting? And for whatever reason, you concluded yes, or you wouldn't be hearing this, right? So something got your attention and interest. Instantly, the next question that they have, and by the way, that podcast is an example, right? It's the same thing for AdWords ad or a Facebook ad or a webinar. Every tactic. Remember, it doesn't matter what color the balloon is. It doesn't matter what tactic you use. They can all work and they can all fail. The first question, however you get in front of your ideal client, the first question their brain asks is, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? And as soon as their brain concludes, yes, that is interesting, then they have a second question. That second question is, okay, you got me interested, but can I trust you? Are you for real? Do you care about me, or are you just looking to make a buck? And that's the second question they have, and the job of your marketing and selling system is to lead them to answer, yes, I see I can trust you. I see that you're good at what you do, and you have my best interest at heart. And then when they conclude yes to the second question, now they have a third question, which is, okay, is what you recommend right for me? Is what you recommend right for me? And as soon as your marketing and selling funnel or process system causes them to conclude, yes, what you recommend is right for me, congratulations, you have a new client. Now, what does this do for us? What this does is, if we say that the purpose of your marketing and selling system is to answer the number one question on your prospect's mind at just the right time, well, what we realize now, what we need to do is, okay, I'm getting started. The first thing I need to do is I need a way of getting the attention and interest of my ideal client. That's your constraint. That's your tightest bottleneck. And you know what to focus on. Now, once you learn how to get their attention and interest, the next question is, okay, can I trust you? Are you for real? So now we need a piece of the process or a piece of the funnel to cause them to conclude, yes, you can trust me. And then finally, okay, I can trust you is what you recommend right for me. Now that leads us to a system for a sales conversation or a sales page and an easy yes offer, as we call it, right? An offer that's easy for them to say yes. So let's go back to the big picture. The big picture is, I need clients. What do I need to do? Well, you need to build a marketing funnel, marketing and sales funnel. Why? What's that about? Well, that gives you a It helps you fill your pipeline. Oh, what do I need to do? Well, you need Facebook ads and a Facebook group. You should be on Twitter and SEO and whoa. And this is why so many people who all they really want is, hey, I just want to do great work with great clients and make a good income. What? Well, I don't want to have to do all that. And they don't actually have to do all that. Now compare that with what we're talking about. Okay, how do I get clients? Well, you need to build a marketing system or a funnel. What's that? Well, what that is it's a repeatable process that helps you answer your ideal client answer yes to 3 questions. Well, what does that mean? Well, the first question is, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? Then, can I trust you? And is what you recommend right for me? So here's what you need to do. You need a simple, compelling message. So that when they come across your message, whatever tactic you're going to use, it leads them to conclude, yeah, oh, wow, I should pay attention to that. And then what you need is some kind of free taste, a hand-raising free offer, something that's inexpensive for you to give to them, and it helps them begin to solve their problem, begin to get the result that they want. And then you need a simple get noticed sequence that puts that offer out there, that free material out there, so they can raise their hand and request it. And then some of the people who are exposed to your free material, and that's true for some who may listen to this, right? So some of those are going to feel, wow, you helped me begin to solve my problem. You helped me begin to get the result that I want. In other words, I see I can trust you. What do you recommend for me? And is what you recommend right for me? And they'll reach out further for a sales conversation and say, hey, you helped me up to here, but if I wanted you to help me fully solve my problem, fully get what I want, what would that look like? And then, okay, so here's what we can do. And then they say, wow, that's great. Let's get started. So in this scenario, you break it down to pieces, and break it down to 6 pieces, and each of those help, so you always know what to do next. And if you're breaking down, if you're not, let's say people are not paying attention and interest to your message, like they're not responding to your Facebook ad, let's say, well, probably you're losing them at the first question. If they're clicking it and then they're not going any further, well, you're losing them either at the first or second question, right? Because it depends on, what happened on the next page, right? It helps you diagnose, it helps you focus, and it helps you leverage. So you can literally end up doing a lot less and getting a lot more for it.
Now, as you help people go through this process in setting up your system, what do you see are some of the biggest mistakes that these business owners and entrepreneurs are making?
It's a good question. So you framed it as I'm helping them, what are the mistakes they make, right? Not before we start helping them. Okay, actually, that's a good question. Let me think for a minute. I think that a mistake that we see clients making that we help them with is they worry if you're doing the right. They worry about, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing it right? And will it work for me? And what we have to remind them often of is that this is not the key is we come at this often with the assumption that there is a right way to succeed, and I need to find the right way to succeed. And that's really not true. It's as if we think there's one way to succeed and a million ways to fail, and it's really the opposite. It's like there's a million ways to succeed, and there's only one way to fail. Yep. And the million ways to succeed is if you could, anything you do that's built on timeless principles will succeed as long as you keep moving, because you're going to have to adjust and adapt and learn along the way. So timeless principles are these 3 core questions, right? Because if every human being is basically asking those questions, no matter what language they speak, and we're all asking it, whether we're conscious of it or not, anytime something is put in front of us, right? So that means those are timeless principles. And if all of your activities are guided by a plan that is built on timeless principles, then you will succeed if you stay in the game long enough, right? Which brings me to a second common mistake that people make, and it's not just clients, of course it's all of us, is that they want, everyone wants it to go faster. We all want things to move faster, but the truth is, look, there are people out there making big promises about magical results, and there are a lot of people buying into those promises. Now, most of our clients have been through that phase where we're no longer looking for the magic button. We realize that my success is going to be tied to my level of skill and discipline and my commitment? How serious am I? Am I willing to do the work? Do I really want what I say I want? Or am I just kind of hoping things fall into place for me? Mm-hmm. We're all about mastery. We're about mastery. We're not about that is the shortcut. Mastering the critical 10% of skills that give you 90% of what you want, that is the shortcut. All the other stuff is a distraction that ends up taking you far longer than you think. So I also want things to move faster. Right? Daryl, do you want things to move faster?
Of course.
Right. So what I realized one day, and I point this out when it comes up with clients, is that, look, if things were moving faster, you know what you'd want? You'd want them to move faster.
That's right, yeah. Yep.
If things are moving as fast as you want them to, you'd still want them to move faster, right?
That's right.
So that's not the place to focus. When we're thinking that thought, obviously that's the wrong thought, right? And instead, the thought to think, I think, is, okay, what's my point of highest leverage right now? Right? Where am I focused? And am I focused on the right thing? Am I focused on the critical 10% that's going to give me 90% of what I'm looking for right now? That's going to, so that's when you have a process like the one I laid out, that's so much easier than when it's all about a collection of good ideas, all the tactical stuff. Most of what's out there, most of the advice is a collection of good ideas. You should do this, you should do that, you should do that and that. But what we're not lacking ideas. I mean, with the internet, information is everywhere. We're not lacking information. We're not lacking the knowledge. We're not lacking the good ideas. What we're lacking, really, and I've seen this in myself as I grew over the years and in our clients, most of us, it's not that we don't know we're not missing that much. We're missing a little bit. And what we're missing is in two main areas. Number one, we're missing a deep understanding of the things that we actually know. Mm-hmm. And we don't know how to work. I know it sounds crazy, but we have to learn how to work.
Yep.
How to sit down and get something done so that it's finished. Whether that's working for like a few hours a day, or not reacting to things, but actually deciding what the priority is and getting it done, or over a period of weeks or months to get something done. And I think, and that's really what we're focusing on with our clients, and that's why we see the progress that we do. That's why they see the progress that they see.
I love how you said that, the focus on getting things done. I have a reminder that pops up on my phone every day, every morning that says, don't be busy today, be productive. Because of exactly that. I want to avoid getting sucked into chasing fires and having to get, just busy work versus productivity, productive work. I don't know about you. I'm a huge fan of Pomodoros. I love that. I sit down, I try to write out my 3 priorities for the day, and I decide how many Pomodoros I'm going to need for each to dedicate. And come hell or high water, I'm doing those Pomodoros, like before I go to bed. Mm-hmm. Some things might come up, phone call might happen, things do interrupt you, get in the way. But generally speaking, I try to push everything off, cancel things if I have to. So that way the only thing I'm doing is focusing on those 3 things and getting those Pomodoros. And if anyone listening doesn't know what Pomodoros are, it's a productivity hack. It's one of the best I've found. And it's 25 minutes of work, 5 or 10 minutes of rest, repeat. And when you put that 25-minute timer on, it's time. So when I work out, I'm a CrossFitter. All our workouts are by a clock. I love Tabatas, different type of timing workout. I've loved timed workouts forever. I've never thought of myself as a time, stopwatch kind of guy. But once I got the results, I've just started I started loving it. And so with Pomodoros, once you hit the start of the 25-minute timer, your phone's off, like distractions are off. Like you're not to be interrupted, and and like you said, you will be shocked how hard you have to rein yourself in to just do what you put in front of you to get done. Mm-hmm. And so that's just a great one because I think that's so true. A lot of people are dancing on the fact that unfortunately you're just lazy, and it's not because you don't mean well. You just, like you said, we have to relearn how to work. There's so many distractions, so many things pulling at your attention. For a lot of people, I feel like that is the real thing. Just do the work. Just do it. Just do it.
Yep. and I also find for myself and for our clients, it's not, we're all willing to work hard. I mean, most of us, people are not afraid. The thing is that we want to know that I'm working hard on something that's actually going to work, right? That's actually going to take me where I want to go. So that's where when people are sitting down to do, people say, oh, you got to do a launch, you got to do this, you got to do that, whatever it is. Yeah. Most people they hear it and they will follow it up to a point, but there's always this nagging feeling inside where they're sensing, I don't know, there's something missing here that I don't understand, and there's like something missing in this advice, and that prevents them from diving all in, and they're really out there looking for more, for what else. And when you have a simple plan that's based on the timeless principles, I think that resolves that doubt, because you realize, I guess all I need to do is for a certain audience, my ideal clients, I need to help them answer yes, yes, and yes. And if I can do that, and I just build the process that does that and then work that repeatedly, of course it's going to work. It may not be perfect and it will need tweaks along the way, but it will be good. So we can believe it, and now it's a question of focusing and getting the work done. I use a similar technique to yours, which the one you just talked about, because I've found that, but I have a little card for the week. Sunday, vertically, it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and horizontally, it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45, and 60. And for each day, I'll sit down to work, and I'll say, let's say 30 minutes, okay? I'm going to work for 30 minutes. But as I'm getting up to 30, I realize, okay, I could probably do this for 45. Or I'll start with 15, and let me get to 40, and I'm tracking the minutes and totaling the day and the week. So, it could just end up being, a couple of hours each day of this kind of high-value, uninterrupted work. And now, it's another. I found that for me, even sometimes committing 25 minutes feels like a long time, like you said. So if I say 15, and then now I'm competing against myself, can I get to 30? Right?
Yeah. No, and it feels good. It feels so good.
It really does. Yeah.
And then
even if you just get 2-3 hours work done a day, you feel like you got something done. Yep. Because you could spend the rest of the day reacting then. I'm talking about, I measure this not for all the things I do, but for the creative work that requires, that's hard to get started, where resistance kicks in. Yep. The important things. Yeah.
That's something, and that was a big surprise for me. Some of the periods of time, because in an entrepreneur, your income goes up and down. Some of the most highest income earning periods of my time were not the busiest times of my life. There were some where I was super busy and making a lot of money. A lot of times I wasn't so busy, but it's like I remember there's a period of probably about 6 months. It was like I couldn't do anything wrong. And what I loved so much, though, is like I was on, like you said, you could work 2 or 3 hours, and the rest of the day you could just react to stuff. Because it's the critical few. It's the small hinges that swing big doors. It's those small little productivity hacks and focuses, the leverage, that 90-20, because like you said before, a lot of people are like, fear of missing out, right? Like, what else could I be doing? Is this what I really should be focused on? Everyone seems to be all about this other thing, the new shiny object of the day. And that's where I always come back and I say, it's the one thing a monk will never tell you, is that movement is better than meditation. Because you can meditate on it all day, every day, and you'll never know. But if you take some action, you make some movement, you'll find out what was good, what was bad, and then you keep moving forward, and you just keep moving forward, and you keep moving forward. Even if you're doing the wrong thing, you're better off to do the wrong thing and do something, because at least then you'll learn. And someone will be like, bro, hey, man, that was really bad. You shouldn't have done that. Or, hey, you're doing this kind of funny. It would work out better if you did it that way. The real key is to not get hurt, and I'm drawing some parallels between athleticism and business, but the same thing in the gym. You can do things and hurt yourself really easily, and so you're better off still. The number one if exercise could be put into a pill, it would be most effective pharmaceutical ever made. Exercise. And so a lot of people, they don't even know what they're doing, and you're better off to go do something than do nothing, but you don't want to get hurt. And it's the same thing in business. You want to do something other than nothing, and that's where a coach and just following a proven system, and when you got someone, just plug in, that's it. And if you're worried about if you're doing the right thing or not, then just eliminate that stress by going, look, I'm giving myself to this date to try it out, to commit myself to this strategy, to this, you know what I mean? And then at that point, I'll make an assessment. But that way you avoid the little in the middle, like, I don't know what I should be doing. Like, because again, I love that. I love the CrossFit methodology, because there's some workouts, they're short. They're really short. They're almost always under 20 minutes, 12-minute workout, 8-minute workout, 15-minute workout, 20-minute workout, super short. But I'm telling you, there are certain minute workouts where it's 12 minutes, and at minute 6, you're like, kill me now. Like, if you weren't being held accountable to that time, you would hop out because it's uncomfortable. But that's where the growth happens. Muhammad Ali was asked in an interview once, how many sit-ups do you do per day? And he says, I don't know, because I don't start counting till it hurts. And that's the thing is a lot of people, if you are your own boss, they always say once you decide to work for yourself, you inherit the shittiest boss ever, because they let you cut corners, they let you off easy, they accept your excuses, and if you had a boss over you, they wouldn't. And so that accountability is a really important thing. And just having them, like you said, timeless principles that you can follow and just take action, get feedback, and you might be like, want to give up. It might seem, but it's about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's like you said, desires once fulfilled will just create new desires. And so it's about enjoying what you're doing and setting up your life to figure out that, I was about to go on a whole other tangent about life and abundance. Now we have so much that really, why should any of us be freaking out? It's just us doing things to ourselves. But that's it. Figure out what you want to do in this world, who you want to help, what kind of mark you want to leave, who you want to be remembered as after you're gone, and just have fun and just, break things into pieces and work on one piece at a time. That's really
absolutely.
So, what other habits?
Habits? Well, you brought up a thought, which I could share it'll take a few more minutes, or we can go on your question.
No, go ahead.
So we call our business the Alchemist Entrepreneur. I think you mentioned in the introduction, and I don't often make time to explain what that even means, because there's actually a lot of thought to it. It's not just about turning lead into gold. Because I had this thought where I mean, and I'm not coming at this as some kind of expert in alchemy. So anyone who's an expert in alchemy will surely take issue with me, and I don't really care, because I use it for the following. I used to imagine the alchemists of old, these grungy old men, greedy, sitting over a frying pan over a campfire, trying to figure out how they can mix this and that so they can turn lead into gold. Like, what's the easy answer? Then I read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, which kind of, great book. So that gave me a different perspective, and I'm pretty sure that what I took from this is not anything that anyone else ever took from it. So, but I could be wrong. So here's what I got from it. I came to see the alchemist as not as somebody who was just mindlessly trying to turn lead into gold, but here's what they probably were thinking. If I could get to the underlying structure of the lead, then maybe we can leverage it and turn it into something more powerful. And that's the idea of the Alchemist Entrepreneur, because scientists can see the underlying structure of lead with a clarity that they certainly couldn't do 500 years ago. But we still can't turn lead into gold, as far as I know. We can see the underlying structure, but as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we have a choice. We could be skidding across the surface, or we could be zeroing in on the few things that make the big difference, the levers, right? Are we? And this is exactly the thinking behind what I was talking about this entire time that we were together now, right? You could say the purpose of your marketing and selling system, your marketing funnel, is to get clients, it's to fill your pipeline. That's very superficial. But if we peel off the layers, if we go deeper, then we start to realize that there's a structure beneath what's the surface that is immovable. It is what it is, and what it is that your ideal clients will ask 3 questions. And if you could see that, you could see what's invisible to most people, then you could leverage it and turn it into something more valuable. And that's the thinking of the Alchemist Entrepreneur. But there's a little bit more to it, and I thought of this because you mentioned athletes. And we think about the Alchemist Entrepreneur as really being a combination of the artist, the athlete, and the entrepreneur. So here's how we think about it. The artist conceives of some kind of piece of art, a creation, and then sets out to create it, right? Not out of fear, but out of a desire to bring something beautiful into the world, to contribute. So when we speak about an artist, we speak about the space to design your business, right? When we're thinking about ourselves as artists, we need to design the business based on what you want, not some kind of reaction to fear or just what someone else says you should want. So that's the artist. We have to really approach our business as the artist would. What am I trying to create? Why? And get that picture clear. Then there's the athlete. The athlete conceives of a level of personal performance and then sets out to systematically and consistently build him or herself up to be able to perform at that level. And there's physical, emotional, mental toughness in all these areas that are required to be able to perform at a certain level. So And the peak athletes respond, they'll perform at their peak in response to a plan. Mm-hmm. So they have a target, and then they build a plan to get there, right? And then they've also learned to become comfortable being uncomfortable, and they know that part of growth is pain. Like you said, mm-hmm. Who did you quote, Muhammad Ali? Yeah. I only start counting after it hurts, okay?
Right.
Well, all right? So that's the athlete. The artist envisions what I want to create for its own sake. The athlete is aiming for a high level of performance and develops a plan to get there. And then there's the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur contributes to the lives of everybody around him or her by creating and selling products and services that enhance their lives. So when we think about that, when you have the artist plus the athlete plus the entrepreneur, that's the alchemist entrepreneur. And that's kind of some of the thinking behind what the name of my business, which I almost never get to talk about. Even probably very few of my clients have even ever heard that. But
I think
that's how we think about what we're about.
And I think that's a great way to put it, because a lot of people get mixed up in, they don't have a balanced view of it, and there's something you said about that as well, and I love it. It's talking about like the type of business you want to have and thinking about yourself on those terms, and then because when you build your business, a lot of people are reactionary, and like you said, like they're just trying to figure out like what people want, and they don't even know where to get people in that. And like even for some of this, there might even be some people feeling that they heard your system, they know those 3 questions, but they're like, okay, but where do I find these people? And that's something you have to realize, is that you define who you want to be and who you are in the structure and the framework of your business, because it's almost like a bridge. It has to be able, if a bridge wasn't shaped in the right shape, it would collapse under weight, right? And so different mm-hmm. shapes can sustain, and materials can sustain different volumes of weight and capacity across mm-hmm. them. And so what you have to understand, though, is that's what we're kind of talking about here, is how you design and set up your business and structure it so that way it supports you, it doesn't burn you out, it doesn't suck life from you, you have some sort of predictability and control in it. But the other part of it is also being able to step in front of people. Like, you can't necessarily make people want what you have. You have to let them choose you out of the available options, and they choose you by you jumping into the river of demand that exists. And that's something that people don't really seem to understand. You can't really cause people to want to be fit. They have to want to be fit to then choose a gym to go to. And that's something, yep. And so that's almost like a revolution that the online world brought, is with keyword research and stuff like that, is we were now able to quantify in an easy way the demand and the desire and the consistency of certain wants, needs, and desires. And there's all, there's all sorts of places, like you said, there's podcasts, there's webinars, there's social media, there's paid ads, there's speaking on stage. There's all these places where there's that flow, but you have to be able to figure out who you are, how you present people, and what, if your business operated like an assembly line, how do you get those 3 S's, and then what's the process you use to move people through the business to get them to the desired result? And then you need to tap into whatever river, whatever method you choose. And we talked about before, movement is better than meditation. There might be a million great ways out there, but you just got to pick one and go, right? And just make it work and figure out a way to tap that in. And then when you have something and you've got this timeless process, these principles that will work regardless of channel, then you can start tapping into other flows of customers, and that's where scale comes in and the growth for your business starts to come in. And I think that that's a really important thing I wanted to mention, because there's your personal productivity, there's your business's productivity, there's being able to create in that space and produce a result, and then there's also the ability to work on the business as a business and create it to be a functioning machine, and then there's the ability to tap into the desire that exists, and that is an external factor. It is really difficult for us to suddenly change the wants and needs of hundreds of thousands of people, or even just thousands of people. You have to, you know what I mean? You got to tap into something that they already want. The business graveyard mm-hmm. is littered with world-class products and services that nobody wants because nobody knew about, nobody was educated, there was no desire, or people just didn't know how to jump in front of that sea of people. And the sea is there. If you can get yourself organized, it's almost like Abraham Lincoln said, and this isn't so much an excuse to sit in your office and cackle before you step out in front of the market, so to speak, but he said, if I had 6 hours, or what, if I had 7 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend 6 of them sharpening my axe. And that's where, mm-hmm. Getting clear on who you can help, what you can help them with, and, why you're trustworthy, what problem you really solve, why people should come to you, and what that simple, compelling message is for them. And it's not got to be simple because people are dumb. It's because people are busy, and simple often can be really profound. And so if you can boil it down and make it really easy to follow and understand, you'll resonate with more people. So anyways, that was...
You brought something up that just to connect with what I said before, because you talked about that the business graveyard is littered with people who created products or services that nobody wanted. And that's really that is the same idea. That's why it has to be the artist and the athlete and the entrepreneur, right? Because, the artist could be this programmer comes up with some great product idea that they think is great, but nobody will buy because you're not really serving anybody. That's balanced with the entrepreneur who contributes to the lives of everybody around him or her by creating products or services that enhance their lives. So there has to be the balance. And then there's the athlete, because so many of us, we have this idea. You want to know what else got so many people stuck? And it's something that I have to remind myself of. And I didn't really understand why this was getting me stuck for a long time. And that is that we just figure, I just want to arrive. If I just get there, if I just get to this point, then everything will be easier and so on. And that the truth is, no, that never happens. And that's what the athlete is there to remind you of. You've got to keep pushing yourself to a higher level of performance. And if you slack off, you start to flab up. You're not. It will not work. And the way you resolve that, I think, is by focusing on others, not on yourself, which is the artist creating something and the entrepreneur are valuable for others. So the ideas really overlap and support each other. Yeah, absolutely.
The joy in life, the happiness in life comes from mastering things in the process. Once you arrive somewhere, once you get to the destination, it's always about the next thing. And it's really about the journey, and it is about the process. And it's about that day-to-day flow, and it's about mastery. It's just about being proficient. That's I don't know why we kind of have, we should wrap it up because I want to respect your time, but there's a lot of emphasis in this day and age on the quick, the easy, the simple, the instant, and a lot of people seem to be afraid of work. And unfortunately, for a lot of people listening to this, if you're in a first world country, I hate to break it to you, but there are billions of people that are hungry for work and just the opportunity to show off and see how far they can go, for the sake of just seeing how far they can go, because they came from a little village where, they had to pump water out of a well, and electricity was something they had for a few hours a day before the brownouts came. And do you know what I mean? And now they've got mobile phones and internet and all sorts of stuff, and they're competing with you. They're all competing with you. And now that we're all connected with the internet, they have access to almost the same education you've got. And so, there's got to be a joy and a love and a passion in what you do for what you do in and of itself. And so my last piece of advice for anyone listening to this would be to set up I'm such a big advocate for this, to have a 24-hour day. If you were stuck in a time warp and you had to relive the same day over and over and over, what would that day look like for you? What would it need to include? So if you added all those days up and you just suddenly snapped, woke up, and it fast forwarded you 300 days in your life, or whatever, 30 years in your life, to be where you'd want to be, what are all the little things you have to do every day? I'll shorten my work day to make sure I get to the gym because I know that I have to have that balance. And it's so easy to be like, I got to do more work. When I'm like, no, I need to make sure I take care of my health. I need to make sure I work smarter. Maybe I need to delegate something to someone. Maybe I need to ask someone for help. Maybe I need to hire someone to help me with something. I don't need to just sit there and focus, on this and throw the rest of my life out the window. And so you really just have to have that balance in work and in life, and have to be there for the process and for the people that you serve. There has to be a passion and a love for them, because just intent is so important. If you're coming to business, if you're coming to your life, it's like anything. Again, athletics. If you're just in the wrong mindset with the wrong intent, it's gonna catch up with you, and it's not gonna end well. So. Dov, man, I appreciate you so much. I want to respect your time. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
I don't know, but this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And nothing comes to mind.
Yeah.
You know what? I think last time you probably asked me what's a good book, and you sent me a few questions that you might ask. That I don't think we got to any of them, which is good. Yeah, right. This is a lot better. But that was just kind of a fallback. So since you asked if there's anything to ask me, it occurred to me. I started to think about what's my favorite book. I don't really have a favorite book. I have a lot of books that I like, but one that I really would recommend, especially based on our last 10 minutes of conversation, is "The Obstacle Is the Way" by Ryan Holiday. And it could be that we mentioned that last time. I don't remember. But "The Obstacle Is the Way" by Ryan Holiday. And that really drives home the point about, hey, sometimes things are hard, and that's the way forward. That is not the time to retreat. That is not the time to feel sorry for yourself, which is a tendency that I have to fight. It's not the time to, to curl up in a ball, to be afraid or whatever it might be, or to kind of lick your wounds. And that is the way forward. That is a clue. It is the way forward. And I think that should be required reading in high school, every high school. So
yeah,
we can end with that.
So well said. I think there is a shortage of grit in this world, and grit is such a fantastic attribute. It is perseverance plus passion. It is dedication and commitment over the long term. It is the ability to stick to it because you love what you do, and it's who you want to be and what you want to do, and that's why you're doing it. And there's going to be, the same wind, what is it, Jim Rohn says, the same wind that blows on all of us. So there's going to be good times and bad times, whether you deserve it or not. And grit is the ability, like you said, to challenge yourself, to be like, I'm going to only work on this for 15 minutes. Hey, now I did 15. Can I do another 30? Like, to be able to push yourself, that grit. I love that grit. And I did a Facebook Live video on this just yesterday, actually, because I spoke with 3 people in one day, and all 3 of them I've known from, forever. And one of them, this guy, he built a business, sold it for 7 figures. Now he's in the AI space. I've known this guy. I've admired him so well. He's always been an inspiration for me in terms of grit specifically. And I talked to 2 other people, and both of them just were like, I don't know why no one wants to do business with me, and I just want to give up. And it's okay to feel like that sometimes. It's okay. I'm making a mocking voice right now, but it's also because I've known these people over a period of time, and I felt like, and the other person was like, I went to the gym, and it was so humiliating and degrading because it was so tough. And I'm like, what did you go to the gym for? What, it was supposed to be easy? Like, that's what you do. Like, and when it gets easy, guess what you do? You make it hard again. Like, so it's a mentality thing. It's that grit. It's just, you got to be able to suck it up, and like, that's where you got to be in it for it, being in it. You got to be in it to be in it, for being in it.
Absolutely.
You have to enjoy it. So,
yep.
Yeah. So at any point in time, Dov, if you didn't have the grit, you would have bounced after year 2, year 3. I mean, even in the beginning of the interview, like, it took me 7 years to even figure out what I was trying to do. And then the next 7 years, it got easier and easier. But a lot of people, they don't even get to year 7. They're like they're at 6 months. They're at year 0.6, 0.5. And they're like, this is tough. I'm out of here. Like, just, man, string up your bootlaces and get it done. So,
I'd say this: some things got easier, but other things got harder, right? I mean, not got harder, but then you face other things that are harder.
Yeah.
Like, I tell you got to take a chip out of it, take a chip out of the wall, and eventually the wall crumbles, and suddenly you learn what you needed to learn to get it. You finally get it. You master whatever you've been hacking at, and then the light bulb goes off, and you can celebrate for a few minutes or a few hours, a few days. And then you look up and you realize, oh shoot,
there's a bigger wall.
There's another wall. Exactly.
or what you realize,
it's a little bigger and it's a little thicker.
That's right.
And okay, time to get back to work.
That's right. Or you just realize you're chipping on the wrong wall. Sometimes you're like, oh, I needed to be doing this. But then you realize, like you said, it's harder work, but it's the right work. And it's, but again, that's why we're in it, to be in it. And a lot of things people freak out and stress out about, I'm telling you, just travel a little bit. There's people that live on so little. There's so much abundance and so many resources, and there's so many people that are willing to help. Ask someone for help. Ask me. Ask Dov. Ask somebody, There's so much out there. Most of the suffering is done to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. So, by the way, Dov, how do people reach out? How do they get in touch? What would you recommend?
They could email me, Dov Gordon at dovgordon.net. That's DOVGORDON at DOVGORDON.net. And they can get the manual that we referred to earlier, the Plenty of Clients manual, which we sold for 5 years at dovgordon.net/manual free. So,
there you go. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Dov, always an honor and pleasure. I'm so glad I had you back for a second round, and I appreciate you just being a good friend and staying in touch and just doing what you do, man. I mean that with the most sincerity, so thank you.
And I had a good time. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, What can you give to someone else to help you with, or give them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.